Hey everybody, it's Friday, the 24th of September, 2021. I'm Kevin Murcko, back from Amsterdam just about an hour and a half ago into the office. And this is an AMA. You ask, I answer. Yeah, I'm going to jump right into it. I actually have a funny, give me a second. Sorry for the baldness there. I got a funny thing in the mail. Last week, I was actually going to show this guys to you last week, but I thought this was pretty hilarious. I don't know if anybody else got one of these in the mail, probably over the last couple months, I guess. So, Hex. I'm going to read you one line from this, which I think is amazing, and then we'll move on. Hex pays you for holding. Well, two lines, sorry. Hex was designed to do 10,000x in 2.5 years. It has only done 950x so far. 3 lines. Hex is just getting started. Yeah, designed. Because, you know, if you could design something to do 10,000, why wouldn't you design it to do 100,000x? What's wrong with you? You know, what are you, an underachiever? Anyway, quite funny. 3 pages of complete and utter nonsense, bullshit, and illegal solicitation by Hex showed up right on my door, direct address to me directly. Cool. So moving on. Let's see. I guess Harold showed up first today. My buddy Harold. The guy just doesn't quit. You got to give him that at least. That's probably the only thing I'd give him, but he hasn't quit. Hey Mike, how are you? Deep Philippe, in light of recent events with XCM and KDA, it seems some issues in regards of coding and security have come to the surface. What's the plan to tackle these? Well, there's always issues of coding, and there's always attention paid to security. But I've said this probably 100,000 times, but I can say it a few more. Don't really have an issue. The vast majority of our infrastructure up to this point was made by one person. And yes, we have had code reviews, for sure. On every single aspect, no. CodeBot wasn't one of them. Actually, our rebalancer bot wasn't one of them. These things happen. You can go through to any financial institution. Now, sometimes they won't tell you that they happen. Sometimes they'll just let it slide. But just like we're transparent when things are good, we will be transparent when things are bad. And since we don't trade against our clients, we never act in our own best interest, because at the end of the day, we just want to make sure that trades that are executed on the platform are legitimate trades. There's a buyer and a seller. That's it. When there's only a buyer or only a seller, those aren't legitimate trades. So yes, these things obviously mean that we took those crossbots offline. We took those rebalancers offline, and we need to look at them. They need to be recoded. They need to be checked. Lots of the backend code actually has already been let's say rewritten over the past probably 1.5 years. And now that we have more resources in backend, well, we're going to be able to do more both internal code reviews, but we're also going to be able to structure the code so that's easily reviewable from external sources as well. So there's that. I would say the core code, we've never really had major issue with the core code, meaning the core code that actually manages order routing inside of our matching engine. Not that there hasn't been issues. Again, code is code. Code breaks. It happens. But we haven't had any major issues with the core code. These rebalancers had no major issue until we had enough volume thrown at them, enough orders thrown at them, where this issue was seen. Now, you would have said, well, why didn't you do that, you know, in some type of sandbox? We did. They weren't seen in the sandbox. So, you know, even though you can test things immensely and they can still break, because it can be almost impossible to test every possible issue that might occur, right? It's not plausible for many types of software. It just isn't. You do as best you can. You monitor. You create better monitoring solutions so that when these things happen, you know immediately. And we had a lot of people on Telegram say, "Oh, well, we were telling you that the volume was high." Yeah, well, and it was volatility. Yeah, well, those two things, you know, would alert you to check, but they don't actually give away what was happening. To find out what was happening, unfortunately, we didn't have all the tools we needed at our disposal to be able to do that. And that means we need to build more tools, and we are. So thanks for that, Deep Philippe. Appreciate the question. Any good news from yesterday's conference? Well, So the Money 2020 for us isn't about selling or about client relationships, to be honest, because it's really about just going and talking to our suppliers, our banking partners, other financial institutions that we may use, companies like, let's say, Fireblocks, for example, as well, or other solutions we may use to gather data, to process data, etc. And so that went well. We had a couple good meetings with both new possible providers to help us streamline a few things inside the organization, as well as providers we've been doing business with for years, just to cement the relationship, meet people face to face, say hello, and talk about new things that each company is doing to see potentially where we can align and do even more together. And we did all of that. So there's things that we are going to be doing with our current providers, new services they're going to be offering that we're going to be able to then offer to our clients, reaching out to companies like Fireblocks, like I mentioned, to make a transition from more than likely BitGo, which we're currently using, to Fireblocks, to reduce cost. And that's to you as well as a user, but also to reduce cost for us, which will also enable us to offer additional services that Fireblocks can help us, that can support us with, that BitGo currently cannot. And also streamlining our KYC service, finding different providers that can provide us more data so we can automate a good portion, if not half or more, of all incoming submissions, so that we don't have to have human beings looking at them all the time. So good things. But yeah, different type of conference, not a conference, not looking for investors, not looking to find clients. It was about really fine-tuning relationships and finding new ones for suppliers, banks, etc. Especially now with the huge growth, it seems there is too little resource on the fundamental aspects like coding and security. Yeah, look, guys, I know people like to beat a dead horse, and this horse has been beaten. It's been dead for a while now. It's not even bleeding anymore. So look, I think I've seen a lot of armchair quarterbacking over the last few days. And I've said a million times, look, I'm not perfect. Not every decision I make is going to be the right one. And you might not like all the decisions I make. I hope you don't like all the decisions I make. If that was the case, there's something wrong. It's my job to make decisions. Whether I make the right one or the wrong one, only time will tell. And sometimes it takes a lot of time. But when you have a company where you have limited resources throughout the initial few years, then guess what happens? You're not able to tackle everything you want to tackle. That doesn't mean we didn't put any focus on security. We absolutely did. Every time something's happened, we've stepped up and done what we need to do to make sure that it doesn't happen again. But in this type of business, the complexities that exist in this type of business, I think most people don't see. You see the tip of the iceberg. And that tip of the iceberg seems to maybe to some to be simplistic. Just hire more devs. Just, why'd you do a buyback? Why didn't you hire a bunch of devs? I read that one the other day. That was one of the dumbest comments I've ever read in my life. And I'll explain to you why. Yep, we did a buyback. We absolutely did a buyback. Spent about 400,000 euros roughly on that buyback. Now, if there was a dev store where I could have walked in before I did that buyback and purchased 20 devs for 400K, I would have done it. But there's no such thing as a dev store. There's this thing called recruitment. There's this thing called, HR. There's this thing called, and when you're limited in resource in HR, you can't simply hire 20 developers. In fact, try to find 20 developers. Here locally, forget it. But try to find 20 developers within 6 months. See how you do. Now, if you're going to hire your brother's best friend who happens to know, been a developer for 6 days, or your buddy that's on Telegram, well, then you can do it much faster. But that's not how you build a billion-dollar company. That's just not how you do it. So anyway, there's been a lot of armchair quarterback. We obviously pay a lot of attention to security. We always have. That doesn't mean we've paid as much attention as we should have. Why? Because we've never had actually a full-time DevOps or SysOps. We're hiring those people now. In fact, we had a great conversation at Money 2020 with a company based in Ukraine that sat and actually built massive projects for pretty much every major crypto that you've ever heard of, including the majors. And so it's one thing about resources. It's also about planning. It's also about when you have limited resources, you need to focus on one or two things. Do you make the absolute most secure platform in the world with no users? Do you make the ugliest platform in the world with users with partial security? Do you focus on, there's all kinds of battles to pick. And if you were the CEO of CoinMetro, you may have picked a different path. You may have been right. You may have been wrong. Simple as that. So, we obviously focus on security. Security is a major thing, and it has to be a major thing. To be honest, I wouldn't necessarily, this is not necessarily a security issue when you talk about KDA and XCM. Nobody broke into our system. Nobody got into your account and changed the numbers on your dashboard. What happened was somebody basically flooded the system with a bunch of orders, and that rebalancer simply went offline. That's it. It's like a DDoS attack. And we already know that almost every major corporation in the world gets DDoSed, and they fall offline on occasion. Nobody has 100% uptime. Well, our rebalancer didn't have 100% uptime. But that non-100% uptime led to an issue that we had to correct. That's not security related at all. And yes, code review. Yep. But the code review may have not found it either. So again, we absolutely need to do more, and we will, because now we have more resources to do it. Again, we're going to be slower before we're faster, because hiring people doesn't mean you just put them into the fire and automatically they know everything that they're doing. They know how the systems work and they know what they need to look for. It doesn't work that way. But we're only getting stronger. I don't see the same company I saw a year or 2 years ago, and I guarantee you next year you will not see the same company. Won't even be close. The only thing you're going to see and continue to see are our major USPs, which is fantastic customer service, transparency. Those things aren't going to go away. Fantastic product base, getting a product base that gets better over time and continues to get better. None of these things are going to go away. But when you see how execution works, what we're focusing on, marketing, all those things that everybody likes to complain about, every other Thursday, Friday, Tuesday in Telegram, you're going to see a vastly different company. Just like you've seen a vastly different company this year than you saw last year. Hi, me and First live with you. Right on. Nice to see you here. Psycho Pump 79. Also, any update on the physical coins when we expect to get them? Deep Philippe, man, I love it. You start out on a really kind of hardcore question, about security and coding. Great question. And then when physical coins? So I told you it's almost the same. Okay, some people are going to call this an excuse, but whatever. They can do whatever they want. We have limited resources, man. I literally don't usually leave my house unless it's to the airport. The last time I actually have a package, which you can't see behind on the other side of this camera, with about 600 euros worth of toilet seats. Don't ask. That I bought for my house that I have in Mexico because I couldn't buy them there. And I was supposed to return them to get my money back. They're still sitting there. So I didn't make it to the post office to return them. Literally the pants I'm wearing, I should have got them dry cleaned about like 6 weeks ago. Haven't gone to dry cleaner. Unfortunately, you guys aren't sitting in the office, so you don't see my non-dry clean pants. My point is that limited resources doesn't just mean we didn't have enough devs, or we didn't have enough customer support, or we didn't have it simply means limited resources all around. And so when I have to be stuck doing operations, when I have to be a button clicker, I don't have time even to do most of the stuff I should be doing to move this company forward. And I damn sure ain't making my way to the post office. And everybody in this office is absolutely full tilt. And yes, we've made attempts. When Cody was here before he left, he was tasked with it. He didn't even make it to the post office. And then he left a bunch of addresses for somebody else. And Edward was supposed to make it to the post office. That's our new COO, if you don't know. He didn't make it there either. So we did hand out a bunch of physical coins in Amsterdam. So if you were there, you might have gotten one. That probably doesn't make you feel any better. But it'll happen. It's not a priority. And I don't say that because we don't like you guys and we don't think you guys should get a little cool coin in the mail. It's just because simply it's not a priority. And every time we've tried to say, okay, we'll get this done, something else happens. Something's happened. Look, again, this business is complex. For as much as people might only see the top layer and think that it's just, I don't know. I don't know what people think, to be honest. There's so many facets that go into any financial business, never mind a trading business, never mind a trading platform, never mind a platform that doesn't only operate with trading, but operates with a million other things behind the scenes to make it work. It's complex. And each aspect of that business is complex. Dealing with our banks is complex. Dealing with our liquidity providers is complex. We have lots of third parties we have to deal with. This is hours and hours of work every week, all the time, every week, week in, week out. Doesn't change. So I promise you we will do it. I just can't really tell you when. Simple as that. So, but I appreciate the really good question and then kind of the follow-up. That was It made me laugh. Hey, Kevin, what happened to weekly updates on the mobile app? It's been over a month since the last update. There have been updates, actually, multiple updates, just you don't see them. So let's say, updates to things that aren't visual on the platform, but that are making it either load quicker, are parsing data better, things with KYC to make sure that it works on all phones, drop downs. There have been updates. There's actually, I think, a pretty big update coming for KYC that's currently being tested. It's in a sandbox form right now, but there have been updates. You're going to start to see more visual updates soon. Team is working on that app every day in and day out. I know Product's been working on a new design as well, which will roll out at some point here, which you will visually be able to tell the difference between the current version and that version. But yeah, there have been updates. Just simple. Most of the updates that come first need to be updates to get ready for those, updates that you can actually see. What the hell is Hex? Well, look it up. You'll find it. It was billed as a blockchain certificate of deposit. It was actually one of the first staking programs, without calling it staking, run by a guy named Richard Hart. Look it up. You'll have a fun time. I haven't gotten an email about the XCM yet, nor was there an update within 24 hours. When do we get those? Yep, the email hasn't been sent yet. We have that preliminary report that's inside a Telegram. Didn't get the information that was needed simply because I didn't ask for it when I needed to ask for it because I was traveling. And the one that it's on my shoulders to do that wasn't on anybody else's shoulders. And the fact that I was traveling and at the event, I did not get to it. Depending on if I can get some of the information I need, which I should be able to, hopefully this evening, I'll try to shoot for Saturday to get that update out. Okay, so the update and the email, I guess, are pretty much the same thing. So I don't see any difference between those two. What's up with the terms and conditions saying that the funds aren't guaranteed or backed? What's up with the terms and conditions? You mean insured? I would assume is what you mean. Because the crypto insurance that exists, for the most part, is absolute bullshit. I'll give you an example. So big companies, BitGo being one of them, for example, offers insurance that's $250 million dollars, I believe. I think they're US based, so it's probably dollars. But in order for that insurance policy to actually kick in, when you read the fine print, someone has to gain access to the key that's being held by a third-party key repository and use that key to take money out of BitGo. Any other thing that may happen, you lose your key, somebody sees your key, somebody gains your login, somebody gets your UB key or your phone and gets into the BitGo account and gets 3 other people to sign or whatever nonsense, doesn't cover it. So you'll probably never see that actually kick in because it's not impossible, but it's highly improbable that that would ever happen, and thus that insurance would need to pay out. Most crypto insurance is kind of like really cheap life insurance, or really cheap life insurance, where it says, you're covered up to $500,000 if you lose a limb, or if your left leg is severed at the knee. Anything else, we're not covering. And so there are crypto insurance providers. Again, they're not worth their salt yet. That's going to change. There eventually will be even government-backed insurance like the FDIC in the US or Omnibus Service in the UK, et cetera, that will cover theft and or even to a certain extent, maybe even technical issues when it comes to funds on deposit at a crypto exchange, a regulated one. But we're not there yet. And that's not necessarily because of CoinMetro. We could go out and get an insurance policy. I've seen a lot of people that would suck and not really cover anything and cost a lot of money. I've seen people say we should set up a reserve. Again, this tells me that people only see the tip of the iceberg. We are a growing company with growing revenues that's not yet profitable. Please tell me where that reserve comes from. I'll give you 10 seconds. Just, shout it out, type it out to yourselves. Dun, 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 dun. Are you stumped? You should be, because reserves only usually come from profits. We're not a profitable business yet. There's nowhere to pull a reserve from. I will also remind you that when we had our incident in October, where someone gained access to one of our computers in the office and was able to get into our admin interface and make fake deposits and then withdraw those funds, we recouped those funds simply the company recouped those funds. We did it. We didn't give you a useless token. We didn't make XCM2 and credit you with a bunch of nonsense tokens like other exchanges have done in the past. Exchanges, by the way, that were profitable at the time massively. We actually recouped all those assets for our clients in one way, shape, or form or another. And so as a regulated exchange, that's our obligation. Are they insured? No. But if we want to continue business and something happens, it's up to us to make sure we make our clients whole. Simple as that. So there's no exchange out there that under any circumstance is going to insure your assets. And I know there are things like DeFi insurance, and we could have a long talk about how insurance works. But in the event of catastrophic loss, meaning there is a major exploit, DeFi insurance is going to give you pennies on the dollar. If you look back at what we did for KDA, there was an issue with KDA, a lot of trades that were one-sided. We had to reverse those trades. That means that people that thought they made money on a trade that actually was never filled by anybody, that money came out of thin air, essentially raising our liabilities against our clients, but money didn't come from anywhere. We decided to allow or apply a bonus worth 20% of what those basically imaginary gains were. That's called insurance. Because when there's a catastrophe, when there's some type of loss, that there isn't enough to pay the loss, i.e. we're not a profitable business. There's not like, we don't have a fund somewhere to pay for potential issues on the platform that may arise. We still pay 20%, 20 cents on the dollar, 20 cents on the euro. That's called insurance. I mean, that's essentially works like insurance, not called insurance, but it works like insurance. So yeah, you're not going to find a crypto exchange that's actually insured for any type of thing that could happen. And this is this would be a technical issue, which probably wouldn't be covered under 99% of insurance policies anyway. So we got a lot of these fake posters here, so be careful of that. Hey, Kevin, I hope you had a good day. Any news about CCXT library? Actually, that came up in a discussion. Who do we have that discussion with? Flux, I think. That's to get integrated into their ecosystem. I believe, I may be wrong, I think we've done a little bit of work on it on our side, but also Flux still needs to do some additional work. There was something that they said that they were going to come back to us with. And to be honest, I'm not sure on which side generally has to do more heavy lifting to get that done. But it is in discussion. Again, we have more devs that can focus on some of these things, but those devs right now are going through an onboarding process. So we're a bit slower than we normally are, but we will be much faster in the near term. So it is something that was discussed. I saw a Slack message about it maybe early this week or late last week. Curious if you have any future pairings you envision for XCM, either crypto or fiat. Envision, well, at some point I would envision XCM being paired against lots of different assets. But in the short term, not so much. I mean, we need to make sure that USD and Euro book is, massively solid until we really want to start bringing on additional pairings. Especially currently, obviously, those rebalancer bots are not functioning; they're offline. Eventually, we'll bring them back online. But those are that type of instrument or tool is quite vital to make sure that things, books function the way they should. Just like we don't want someone to, we don't like to see issues that happen like with that rebalancer bot. We also don't want to see major differences between books so that clients will arb other clients, because basically more sophisticated clients will take money out of the pocket of less sophisticated clients. And those will be legitimate trades, which means we will not be able to go in and revert them or reverse them on behalf of someone who potentially sees a price in the Euro book of 23 cents for XCM, places their order in the USD book or market order in the USD book only to get filled at 8 cents because the books didn't match. Yeah, so we got a bunch of these fake. Watch out for these fake people. I sent 11 ETH and got 55 ETH. Absolute nonsense. Will you hire CZ when he's out of a job? No, absolutely not. That wouldn't provide any benefit to us, regardless of the experience he may have of running an illegal exchange or the experience he has of scaling that exchange, he would essentially derail one of our major USPs, which is we are regulated and do things by the book. How far away do you think crypto ETFs are? Would CoinMetro offer a tax wrapper accounts for investments that some I guess countries offer for investments, e.g. UK allow ISA account 20K per, okay. Yeah, so we've had questions about this from Australia, also from the UK, also from the US, whether those be super funds or 401ks or ISA, or Canada also has their own interest-free investment, what you call a tax wrapper here. Crypto ETFs. I don't know why people give two shits about crypto ETFs, to be honest. Don't see it making a major dent. If it would have happened 3, 4, 5 years ago, it would have been a major news event, because at that time, the barrier to get into crypto for institutions was very, very high. And most, even if they wanted to, weren't going to climb over that wall, and they just were going to wait. That's not the case anymore. There are ways, many ways, for institutions to get involved. Sorry. Institutions to get involved. Everybody's going to start doing like a whatever pump meme or something now, I guess. For institutions to, oh. And I actually picked the call up, so they heard me saying a bunch of nonsense. Okay, so I don't think it's a big deal anymore. I think they could launch 20 ETFs tomorrow. Wouldn't make a bit of difference in the market, aside from maybe an initial short pop in price, or to be honest, probably the exact opposite of that, an initial fall in price, followed by some gradual regaining of where the price fell from, and then maybe some slight upside. They will happen at some point. Jesus, people. So, you know, how many times do you have to like deny a call before someone stops calling you? Is there like a standard number? 4, 5? Anyway, yeah. So ETFs. I don't think it's going to make a big difference. They will happen at some point. There was some clear ground rules set out for when an ETF would be approved. I don't think we're there yet, to be honest. But at this point, though, crypto is pervasive enough where the SEC maybe just let it ride. However, with the current administration that sits in the U.S., I doubt, honestly, that this is a priority. Doesn't necessarily mean one won't get approval, but it's absolutely not priority for them. So, okay, another guy with his fake ether. Okay. Hey, Kevin, how is CM progressing to allow higher XCM staking, any ETA? It could be within 1 to 2 months, some weeks ago. I don't think anything has changed there. Again, it's a resource thing, for one. Two, I already outlined the two things that need to happen. And both of those have made some progress, need to make more progress. That's a healthier book, and that's the ability for us to make yield off of assets that we hold inside of our ecosystem, whether that be fiat or whether that be crypto. And with that healthier book, part of that making yield on assets is XCM as collateral on margin. That hasn't happened yet. The book still needs to get healthier for us to be able to move to that step. As we've talked about before, we do have an investor group that will be coming back into the book to support the book in October. That may lead to us to be able to offer that margin. And at the same time, we will be working on, towards the end of the year, setting up a program where we can actually make yield on some of the assets that we hold, both company assets as well as platform assets. So still could be within that same time period. It might not be. Those things need to happen first. There's potential that they happen within that time period, though. Hire a full-time. Thank you, Duder. We haven't thought of that one, actually. Thanks for bringing that up. Wow, a tester for a company that builds tech. That's an amazing idea. I'm glad you brought it up. Obviously, we worked. I think we might still work with them, with a company of QA testers, but they didn't really have the ability to offer us any senior testers, and we are still looking for internal testers. Look, I don't want to go down this road again, because again, tip of the iceberg, guys. Tip of the iceberg. Any news on re-enabling KDA staking and bonding? Nope, that's definitely more of a KDA question, a Kadena question. Again, as when we did our AMA, when we did our Q&A with them, our fireside chat, I remember basically towards the end of the year is when they envisioned that the bridges would go live. Once those liquidity bridges go live, that's going to mean they're going to be able to make yield. And when they can make yield, they will open up bonding, to unlimited or whatever their hot threshold is going to be. Hi, Kevin. Any ETA on when the CM logo will be changed? No, not a priority, really. To be honest, we could have the best. Everybody in here could think we have the best logo in the world. Revenues wouldn't move a penny. But it probably will change at some point. But absolutely no ETA. Asking these questions because of my community concern, not trying to be a dead horse. Yeah, I know you're not trying to beat a dead horse, but the horse has been beaten. Not necessarily just by you, but it's been beaten. Are investors still ready to support price somewhere in October? Yep. In a recent drop of collaterals. Yep, that's still the plan. Sorry, that's a bullshit ether post again. Yeah, and then we got people posting Team Binance. Oh my God. Jesus. Okay. I think it's probably Harold with a different username, to be honest. Is quant staking still on? I can't find that feature on CoinMetro, though there's a blog from CoinMetro. Quant staking ended. We initially had the idea that we were going to pay out roughly, I think, 50,000 euro for quant staking from Treasury, just to support the quant community, get some more quant traders on the platform. It worked too well, and we spent close to 200,000 on that initiative. And then some people had the audacity to ask for lower withdrawal fees after they made like tens of thousands in free assets. So no, it's been closed for a while. Once gateways are active for quant, we still envision running one at least, or multiple, so that we can provide staking rewards on quant rather than XCM. How long do you think new backend devs need to get up to speed to get acquainted? 2 to 3 months is about right. 1 month is kind of just figuring out what's what. Second month, maybe they can dig into some small projects, very small, a lot of low-hanging fruit. By month 3, I would suspect that we'll be able to let them roam around a bit freer and give them more meaningful projects. Jesus, it's like almost every post is just nonsense. Hey, Kevin, there's nothing better like driving a car and listening to your AMA. Well, thanks, Brian. Don't crash. Will MW be given the opportunity to do a guest AMA with Kevin and Ollie? Well, Oliver's never been on an AMA, even though I asked him a few times. So I don't know. I don't know, man. It depends on how you are the day that you potentially show up here at the office. You seem to go from, one extreme to another. So as long as you're, somewhere, if you're neutral that day, and then absolutely, man, you can join an AMA. Why not? Maybe not the whole AMA. I don't know, sit here and just watch me answer questions, but definitely you can come in and say hello, give a shout out. Why not? Typing while driving, expected more. Maybe he used voice to text. You never know. Are you planning to do more videos with Jessica Walker? Yep, we'll do more videos for sure. She's a busy woman doing a lot of things. I'm pretty busy, but yeah, every now and again she reaches out to me to do something, and I'm sure she'll reach out again. We're actually trying to get a bit of a partnership going, but we haven't yet solidified the details. Anything interesting in money 2020? So I think I mentioned at the top of the show. So if you want to go back, you can read or listen. Read. I guess you can read, but you can listen. And when will we get crypto wallets? You got to broaden that question a little bit. You mean like just a standard wallet service? I'm not sure that that's a service that many people have asked us for, to be honest, or that people really want from CoinMetro. Maybe they do. I think most people that come to CoinMetro, it's either about trying to find the latest gem listing, or it's about fiat on and off ramp, which is one of our mainstays. I haven't really had a lot of people ask for a wallet service, but again, as we expand, maybe it becomes something that we feel we need to do, especially now that we have a better mobile presence. That might be something that we do in the future. Are you bullish on a DNA token long term? I was bullish on the team that they could take the platform that they have and make it bigger and better than it was. DNA is a pure utility token. I don't see a lot of I don't expect a lot of speculative movement in reality in terms of upside, even though you will see, obviously, there's PR announcements, the platform's getting bigger. That's going to lead, to some probably new price discovery and new highs. However, I trust the team. I think the team can get it done. They're committed. They have the know-how. They studied what they need to study. They have the experience, and they're well-grounded. So I do think that platform is going to grow. And if the platform grows and more people use the token, I imagine that it's going to see some upside. I don't see it as, a moonshot token. I don't see it as something that's going to do 1,000x or whatever, because it doesn't need to. There always are going to be supply demands at play in any asset. So depending on what the supply is, when there's demand, that asset will rise in value. But at some point, especially when it's pure utility in nature, it doesn't need to go beyond a certain price point in order to service the size of its market. So where were there some marketing updates you were going to mention today? Well, there definitely are things that marketing's working on. I have a call on Monday with, let's say, a traditional media company to do interviews, podcasts, and some written PR that will show up on mainstream media. I mentioned that we were working on a few things that probably would happen by the end of the year. That's one of them. We also, next month, you will see us on, some people in this room will see us on their TVs when enjoying probably one of their favorite pastimes. I won't say any more on that, but yes, so that's ongoing. You're going to see probably the first CoinMetro TV ad in the month of October. Subsequently, you'll see similar ads starting at the beginning of next year outwards till the end of May. That may give you a hint at where you might see them. Also, talking to a few agencies, large agencies that have been used by some of our competitors in the past, to help us move forward on a few major milestones in marketing and then for the company as well. And also, we have a potential advisor that's going to come on board that we're going to work with out of the US that's going to help us on a few key elements that we haven't had the resources yet to work on. So yeah, there's lots of things coming in marketing. We finally have a bit of money to throw behind marketing, so that's great. We also now know how much intake we can support and maintain our customer support and maintain a level of that level that we want to maintain so that it differentiates us from our competition. We don't want to go past that yet, so we don't want to throw all the money into marketing and get a ton of clients that may not get the same experience we want them to get. That's why we're still hiring. We got about 9 people in the pipeline right now. I think we're full speed ahead. We're hiring as fast as we can. Again, it's a process, and things start when they need to start. That's how the life works. You can push things faster, but I'm telling you, at the end of the day, things need to happen at the right pace, and you need to be look forward, not to next 3 months or 6 months or a year. It's the next 10 years. We're at the point now where we are going to see in 2022 a tremendous amount of movement that's going to lead us down a path of becoming, one of the biggest names in fintech. That's it. So anyway, lots of building to do, and we need to make sure we get the right bricks. Right? You get the wrong bricks, causes a problem. Hey, Kevin, thanks for the transparencies in the KDA and XCM problems. It made me actually buy more XCM, the only exchange I feel safe to keep funds on. Take it as a compliment and have a nice day. Well, thank you. Yes, but maybe. I appreciate that. Is the KYC data of your clients encrypted? If yes, who has access to the encryption keys? So I'm not DevOps, but yes, it is encrypted. It sits on multiple servers at this point in AWS, and it is encrypted data. I know I don't have access to the keys. Keys more than likely are only accessible through another service that's more than likely currently only accessible by one person. And that's our head of engineering. Any news about the Flux distribution? Yep, that's getting done today. As far as I know, some of it's already been completed. There's a few other steps. I saw about an hour ago, or an hour and a half ago, roughly 4 or 5 hours. Are you still interested in the Euro stasis? They said they contacted by now. Well, I remember when you brought that up and I said that I contacted them twice or 3 times. They may have, but what I remember is they asked you to tell me to contact them again. And I just wasn't going to do that because I don't know where they've grown at this point. At the time, they still were quite small. We could easily create our own Euro stablecoin for our own needs and potentially get larger than Stasis quite quickly. So yeah, I don't know. I'll check. I don't know. I remember them not reaching out. They may have reached out at the end of the day. And there may be something interesting there. Maybe. Just got off 12-hour night shift, so I will finish watching later. Night. Okay, cycle. I'm going to totally mess it up. But yeah, thanks for that. Are you still in? Oh, we got that one already from Harold. When Flux airdrop already is happening. In fact, I think we're partially the way through it already. I saw about an hour ago, another 4 or 5 hours to complete it. Would be interested in bringing XCM pairs to future swap. If it's decentralized and someone does it, I wouldn't be against it. Us proactively doing it is another question, and I'm not sure how excited I would be to proactively do it because I think that still blurs the line when it comes to regulation. How bullish are you on XCM over the next year? I've always been bullish on XCM. That hasn't changed. Look, companies see trials, tribulations, they see good times, they see bad times, they see slow times, they see fast times, they see, happy times, they see sad times. It's like being in any relationship, it's like any person, it's like any living being. Not every day is great, some days are. Not every day is happy, some days are. Some days are tough, some days are rough, some days are, I feel like Dr. Seuss. Anyway, the point is that I've always been bullish on XCM. I was bullish on XCM when it hit a cent. I was bullish on XCM when it hit 70 cents. I was bullish on XCM when it fell back down to 18 cents. I was bullish on XCM when we had a volatility problem and a bot problem or whatever. Still bullish on XCM because I'm bullish on the company, because I'm bullish on the people in the company, because I'm bullish on the company's future. And again, I know that as long as we don't collectively give up, and we won't, that we will reach the goals that we intend to reach. Whether we reach them on the exact day and time we intended to reach them, well, you never know in life, but we will reach them. So I'm bullish. The asset will grow over time. I am sure of it. I'm sure of it only because I know that the business will grow. And as the business grows, they might not correlate 100%. One might lag behind the other. But as the business grows and everything that is to come, and again, with all the, look, just like every relationship, like I said, just like every individual's life, there are times in life when you think, man, how come everything I do, I don't know, doesn't turn out the way I want it to? Or, why do I really have to do this today? Or, oh my God, is this really? Those things happen. They happen in business as well. But, at the end when you focus on what you need to do, when the vision is there and you continue down that vision, you may not end up exactly where you wanted to be, but you're going to end up in a good place. And we are so much better today than we were last year, and so much better last year than we were the year before, and so much better that year before, the year before that. And we're only getting better. We're getting substantially better, actually. Sometimes you don't see that. Again, tip of the iceberg. Sometimes it only trickles out. Sometimes, because it takes time, people don't even realize how much better we are than we were. We are hitting our targets that we set back at the end of last year for the average volumes this year, and we're probably going to break them by the end of the year. We're setting our targets for revenues. We're surpassing those. Amazing. I don't know how many times somebody wants to call you. Anyway, maybe it's something really important. Maybe I should pick it up, but I'm not going to. So anyway, so yes, I'm bullish, I guess, at the end of the day. That's what I'm trying to say. Hey, Kevin, how was the rye? Did you have some good conversations? Yep, chatted about those a bit at the beginning of the show. So you can go back and listen. Yep, a lot of good meetings, some new products we're probably going to use, some new service providers we're going to use, talk to a lot of our current service providers, really good conversations, new products they're working on that we can integrate, new stuff we're doing they might want to be a part of. Lots of good talks. So yeah, absolutely. It was a good time. 3,500 a ticket. Well, we didn't pay 35. I think we paid 1,250 a ticket, a growth stage startup. But I've been to crypto conferences where tickets are in the, five digits. So, Actually, for Money 2020, for the most part, usually ends up around 5,000 US with all the events they do. So how do you decide which cryptos to list? How do I decide which cryptos to list? Well, I don't necessarily make that decision by myself. That's always going to be kind of a communicative decision between different people inside the organization, as well as community, to be honest. I've talked about this before. I'll try to do it real quick. There's kind of a Gantt chart. Those are two circles. Where the circles overlap is kind of our sweet spot. And it's starting to show that it's our sweet spot. If you've seen volumes that have happened on VXV, on Quant, on Flux, etc., that's the sweet spot. What does that mean? That means finding assets that aren't listed really anywhere else yet, that don't have fiat on and off ramps, that need that are able to work with us on other products and other solutions, and then working with them to make their community better. They work with us to make our community better. We work with them to make better products. They work with us to make better products. That's the sweet spot. And it took almost 2.5 years to prove that was a strategy that made sense. And we're now starting to prove it. Most of our volume now comes from the assets we listed first, that at the time were not listed elsewhere, because we built a relationship with their communities. Outside of that, you have, most well-known assets, top 100, etc. And on the other side, you kind of have other not so well-known assets, but may only already have fiat on and off ramps, or maybe they don't, but their community doesn't really want to work with us. And so the sweet spot is still where our focus is, but we also understand that as we grow, we're going to need to add more assets because people like to trade other things. No, Kevin, it's not me. Yeah, that was a joke, Harold. I thought because it's video, you'd been able to tell that. Why Estonia? So initially, the idea was to establish CoinMetro in Georgia, not the state in the US, but the country. The reason for that is that my FX business was also looking at Georgia, because we got some insider information that the FX license that was only available to banks was going to open up to non-banks. And at the same time, within 6 months, they were going to add crypto trading. So it was going to be a license basically in Eurasia, between Asia and Europe, two great markets that we could capitalize on. Problem was that we went to Georgia and tried to do some headhunting and tried to interview some people, and it was a bit of a mess. And we figured that it would be a difficult place to really start and grow a startup, especially in the industry that we were trying to break into. And that was in January of 2018. And sometime in 2017, towards the end of 2017, I had read an article about Estonia adopting these crypto licenses that were based on a draft of AMLD5, the Anti-Money Laundering Directive 5. This is way before, probably 18 months before it was fully redacted in the EU at the EU level. And so I thought, well, let's go to Estonia. Let's see what happens. We got on a plane. We came here to Estonia. That was January 28th, I believe, 2018. Within about 3 days, I believe, we hired our first employee out of the lobby of the, what was it? What's the name of the hotel? I'm going to forget the name of the hotel. Park Inn, out of the Park Inn hotel. Found some temporary office space, and off we went. So, as you know, having experience in regulated finance, knowing that even back in 2007, knowing back in 2008, to be honest, but if this industry grew, it was going to be regulated. I wanted a place that we had some regulatory cover, not just an exemption, not just, well, we don't even know what this stuff is. It's a fad. It's going to go away. We're not even going to look at it. I wanted some type of regulatory cover. And Estonia was pretty much the only game in town in Europe at the time. So that's why Estonia. Hey, Kevin, thanks for answering questions. You're welcome. Do you have any idea when the Flux airdrops are being distributed? Yep. Again, today. They've already started. 4 or 5 hours. Process should be complete. That's at least what I read in our internal communications about an hour ago, hour and a half ago at this point. Not CoinMetro related, but I'm wondering what's your take on Bucky or Sailor or going ultra long on Bitcoin? Okay. Especially, I give it 30%. Jesus Christ. People, man, Christ. I mean, is it not obvious at some point? Like, send a text message or something. Stop calling. Anyway, my house is probably on fire. Like, I'm gonna get off and regret it. Like my husband, whatever. So, I don't know. I've heard reports that Sailor has been selling as well. He's a bit of a character. He says a lot of things that just don't make any sense, and kind of scare me to how much money he's pumping into the market, where it seems like he's more on the ideological side than the actual, I know what this is, I understand how it functions, I understand the risk side, which is crazy, scary, and doesn't necessarily make me feel nice inside. As far as other, like Ecuador and countries throwing money into Bitcoin, somebody's got to do it first. Ecuador doesn't have anything to lose, literally. I still think, though, look, one of the premises of the Bitcoin white paper was inequality, wealth inequality. And literally, Bitcoin now has worse wealth inequality than the real world does. So if you're a Bitcoin maximalist, this should piss you off. It should piss you off to no end. That what's happening slowly but surely is that the same thing that happens in every other aspect of life, the rich become richer, more powerful, and control more of the money, is exactly what's happening in Bitcoin. I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist. So the way I look at that is people are now starting to realize that there is a deflationary mechanism to Bitcoin. And while it may be ultra volatile now, the more liquidity that flows into it will lessen the volatility. And if you get in relatively early, which you probably still are, you will see some decent gains over and above the stock market. Probably won't see 10,000 X's or anything like that anymore, but you will be able to hedge against other things that happen around the world on the macro level, and you probably will make some money while doing it. Christ, I finally throw this phone out the window at this point. I should just turn it off, but I don't know why I haven't done that yet, actually. Okay. All right, moving on. Oh, what time are we? Okay, we got 5 minutes, guys. What would you recommend Flux holders for the October 15th airdrop? Transfer Flux to Zelcore? Well, you'll get the airdrop here as well. Now that we've done one airdrop and done a distribution, which is in process right now, we'll be able to do it much quicker. Up to you. I wouldn't recommend you either way. If you want to move to Zelcore, have at it. If you want to leave it here, have at it. Either way, you're going to get the airdrop. What's in your folio? What's in my folio? My portfolio, I imagine. I guess you just mean crypto. I have a portfolio that scales outside of crypto. There's lots of things in it that aren't crypto, but my crypto portfolio is, Bitcoin, ETH, KDA, XCM, obviously. I do have a bit of Flux, not much, but I have some. Also have some Hathor, also have some ALBT. I don't buy anything if it's not on CoinMetro. Doesn't matter if I think it's a good buy. I support my own company, my own business. I don't go on Uniswap. I've never been on Uniswap. I don't go on Pancake Swap, Hot Dog Swap, Hamburger Swap, Joe's Swap, Mary's Swap, none of that nonsense. I stick with my own company. So if we list it and I think it has some legs, which usually is the reason why we probably would list it, I get involved. Also Thought AI. I have a good amount of Thought AI as well in my crypto portfolio. Can we automate investments into crypto? Would love to treat my CM account just like my Fidelity brokerage. Yep, dollar cost averaging, direct debits and all that stuff is coming. Probably Q1, Q2 next year. Yep, Euro pair, that's been asked for. That's a pretty easy win. Obviously right now without these rebalancers, initially that book is going to be empty, so it would have to be limit order only initially. But that definitely is possible. I'll see when we can actually get that done. I can't really give it. It's a pretty quick process, just needs to be scheduled. I like KDA. I do think that they are going to find a niche that Ethereum is not going to be able to compete with. I do think other companies will find niches that Ethereum can't compete with. I think there's going to be a few protocol wars. I think Kadena is pretty well suited to go much farther than they are currently. Whether they become the go-to solution for their niche market, for their niche markets, I don't know yet. Time will tell. They have a good team. They have a team that's passionate. They have a team that knows what they're doing. And they're absolutely willing to sacrifice what they need to do to get there. So Stuart and everybody else, Doug and everybody else, Francisco, everybody else on the team really does put in their all. Backgrounds fit right with what they're trying to do. So I'm bullish on KDA. Are you still positive on the €1 price end of year? I never said I was positive, I think. I still think it's in the realm of possibilities. This is crypto, everybody. It could happen tomorrow. And we could have no reason why it happened. But I think at €1, we would be slightly above what our valuation is going to look like into Q1, Q2 next year. And by the end of the year, I expect that valuation to be higher. And I'm talking about the company valuation. Now, in reality, I think the XCM market cap should be about a 3 to 4x of valuation, more or less, to support the ecosystem. Our last valuation was 60 million. That means it should be 180 to 240 right now. It's lagging. It'll get there. By the end of the year, I expect about right now, I would say between now and the end of the year, 100 million to 120 million is more or less what the company is worth in reality. That means a 400 to 500 million market cap. So yes, it's possible. Is it plausible? Really depends on too many things to speculate on. But I think we're growing the company to the point that that value makes sense. Did CM lose any money? We did, yeah. We absolutely lost a bit of money. KDA incident as well. So yes, yeah, we did. Maybe you already mentioned, sorry, which in a nutshell, your main marketing goals for the short term, which markets, or where can I read about it? I got about a minute. I'm gonna try to rifle through this one. Our main markets right now, our largest growing market right now is actually the US. 55% roughly of all new users come from the US. EU is still a massive market for us, so is the UK. There are other markets as well. Those are our three main markets. Those are the markets we're gonna focus on. Marketing is going to be traditional financial media. It's also going to be TV. I gave a few hints about that earlier. It's also going to be different strategies on how we break into things like Facebook and Twitter using marketing agencies. And then again, focusing on more content, going down again, probably the educational path, maybe revitalizing a bit on how we do this show, on how it's presented, maybe doing a bit more video content. That's a very small nutshell of what's been talked about, but that's part of it. Also focusing then on growth, having a separate growth department to marketing, to really focus on where we're going to be headed in the next 12 to 18 months. You mentioned that DNA is a hard-coded utility token, so it won't moonshot. What types of tokens are then good for long-term investing? Well, I wouldn't say it's not good for long-term, because if the platform does well, it has to increase in value to support the platform. I just don't expect, moon boys to come in and shoot it to 1000x for no reason other than the fact that, it showed up on CMC as the biggest gainer one day. Security tokens are not good for moonshots. That's what they shouldn't be. They're security tokens. I mean, if the company does well and increases their valuation, the security token goes higher. But again, now you're not going to see 1000x's in most cases. Staking tokens, I would say, need to be a big piece of your portfolio. How Warren Buffett became a billionaire was not picking tops and bottoms and day trading. It was by finding things that paid yield. And the yield ended up being 4, 5, 10 times what he paid for the stock year in, year out, every year. And that's why he's considered one of the best investors in the history of mankind. It has nothing to do with his ability to trade a chart. And so definitely things that you can stake and earn yield from need to be part of your portfolio. Also, things tied to platforms are not a bad idea. Utility tokens in general are not a bad idea. Those platforms, if they do their tokenomics right, as the platform grows, that token needs to be worth more in order to support the platform, depending on the tokenomics. Security tokens are like investing in equities. So if you like equities, if there's a company you like and you want to throw some money behind that company, why not? Again, that could be a dividend issue at some point. What could provide dividends if the company does well? Again, just like a staking token does. So not bad to have a part of your portfolio as well. It really depends on the size of your portfolio and your long, short, and medium-term gains on where you should put your assets. What's the pros of outsourcing things versus building in-house? Well, security can be one. Your ability to move at speed can be another. White label, obviously, if you buy something that's already pre-made, you don't own it. And that means you have a significantly lower valuation when it comes to the tech that you actually own. Your valuation then comes from the amount of clients you have, or which is usually what happens in fintech, or if you are profitable, your profitability as well. All right, I'm a little bit over. I'm going to have to wrap this up. I'm just going to see if there's... They made a lot of progress, absolutely. I'm bullish on Parsec. They have a great team. They're bringing on new people, the right people. Every company has struggles. Price doesn't really dictate how well a company is doing. They've made a lot of releases, done a lot of cool things in the last year. And just because the price isn't at an all-time high, it doesn't really I also have PRQ, by the way, in my folio. I forgot to mention that. A good amount of it, actually, as well. Parsec team recommended to invest in infrastructure-type blockchain in the AMA. When do you think that market will mature and stop undervaluing Parsec? Well, It takes a long time for infrastructure to mature because it takes a long time for people to use the infrastructure. Think about infrastructure just in your daily life. Infrastructure is massive, but it takes a long time to become massive and for people to adopt it. Think of companies like 3M. Think of companies like Qualcomm. Those guys created infrastructure for different industries. Nobody really knows who they are. They didn't have a retail front-facing product for the most part, at least where they make most of their money. But they're massive now. But it takes a long time. It takes less time probably in fintech, and as we move forward, it takes less time simply because things start to move quicker and companies are able to grow quicker. I agree with them that infrastructure, you have to pick the right ones. I think Parsec potentially can be one of those right ones, absolutely. How long the market will take to mature? The protocol wars really haven't started yet. We might be in for anywhere from 3 to 10 years worth of protocol wars, trying to find the protocols that pick up those niche markets, the ones that grow into larger markets, the ones that take over finance, the one that, or maybe not even the one that stays in finance or takes over finance, the one that takes, logistics, the other one that deals with maybe connecting and something like Quant's trying to do with interoperability. There's going to be a lot of people doing a lot of the same things. And the price of the token doesn't dictate how well they do it, whether they will be successful at doing it. Price of the token simply dictates the price people are willing to pay for the token. So it's going to be a long haul, years. It's not going to be months. It won't be next year. It's not going to be 2023. But 2025, 26, 27, 28, at that point, we're going to have a much clearer picture of who controls what markets. And those infrastructure tokens will become much more valuable as a business, regardless of where the token price sits. Bullish on the company and team. It's such a simple and powerful statement for someone so honest and straightforward, knowledgeable as you. Congrats. Thanks, Gustavo. I appreciate that. I know we missed a conversation while I was in Amsterdam, so we're going to pick that up hopefully next week. How many developers would you ideally have right now? Ideally, 50. Or more. As many as I possibly could have. If I could have infinite developers, that would be the ideal situation. But, probably not possible at any point, at any time in the future. I'm going to leave it there, guys. We got what news about Bitcoin? I don't really have any news about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is what Bitcoin is. I'll tell you one thing, less retail money now in Bitcoin than there used to be. Probably still a majority or close to it, but less. That's going to mean that it used to take us, 83% corrections to see highs in Bitcoin. We're not going to see that anymore. I think we saw a 60%, 60% correction. Okay, that's less. Over time, it's going to be even less. And also the all-time highs are going to be less in terms of how fast they move to the upside. So Bitcoin is becoming more institutional. That could be good or bad, depends on where you sit. So yeah, I would say, just like always though, it's a hodl market. Don't try to trade it. Don't pick tops, don't pick bottoms. Hodl. That's the best way for most people to make money in this market. Okay, everybody, I missed some questions, couldn't get to them. We had a decent hour here together, hour and 2 minutes actually. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching. If I didn't get to your question or I missed it somehow, you can tag me on Telegram at Kevin Murcko. You can tweet me on Twitter at Kevin Murcko. I will see you there. If you've been blocked from our channel for some reason, you can still DM me if you like, or tweet me if you like. It is the weekend coming up. It's Friday. Amazing. It's been a long week. Friday feels nice today. So if you can spend time with friends and family, do it, whether it's virtually or whether it's physically always being better. Well, depending on the family or friend, I guess. But while you're hanging out with them over a few beers or something, make sure as you're, trying to super home drunk at, curfew now, which is like, 11 p.m. everywhere in the world or something. Just make sure you blabber about XCM on the way home so somebody hears it, maybe looks it up on their phone, and start supporting the buy side. Amazing. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. Thanks for being here. Thanks again for the questions. See you guys on Telegram. Cheers.